Welcome to This Costa Rican Life. I'm Justin McCarter. I'm here with my good friend and fellow sailor, Isaac Warmenhoven, better known as Captain Jack. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is a keenly anticipated episode of This Costa Rican Life. You are a guy that collects a lot of stories. Stories swirl around you. And I know a few favorite stories about you that I tell when I'm sailing. We go past you, your boat. I always tell the people I'm sailing with a couple of different stories about you. That just in the in the 6 or 7 years that I've known you. Where'd you come from, and how'd you get here, Jack, in Costa Rica?
I was born on Vancouver Island, where I was spent a lot of time on the water up there, but it's too cold up there. Moved down to San Diego, and
my hometown.
Yeah, your hometown. And I met a Costa Rican gal. She was 21, I was about 26, and she had just driven from San Francisco to San Jose, Costa Rica and back. And I said, wow, I'd like to do that. And next year we did it. And we spent 4 months out of the US, 45 days meandering through Mexico, Guatemala, Central America into Costa Rica in a 64 Chevy pickup truck with a camper on it.
Jeez.
And it was a riot. It really was a fun trip.
Wow. And then, how was Potrero in those days when you got down to this area?
Well, she, as a teenager, had a best friend that that best friend's uncle had a house in Potrero, just up behind Playa Penca. And so she knew Potrero and always talked about it. And we came here. I loved Potrero right off the bat. And there was, obviously there was a dirt road in and out, which only got paved about 10 years ago. And I loved Playa Penca. We came. I've been in Costa Rica almost every year. I only missed once, and that was 1981. I was the first year down here, and I only missed 1 year. And I was in Colorado, and my daughter, who was Costa Rican and Canadian, came to visit me in Colorado. It's the only reason I missed it. And
you built a house here in Potrero? You built a couple of houses.
Well, I bought this property in about '88. At that time, there weren't many houses on the hill. There was, I'm guessing there was about 4 houses. One belonged to Roy Bernard, who was one of the original developers. These guys bought something like 90 hectares for about $35,000 in the mid-'70s. Jeez, and this whole area down here was owned by that guy, Bon Bailey. Yes. Well, at the time I bought my lot, my wife, she became my wife too. By then she was my wife. She wanted to be near Penca because Playa Potrero had a black sand beach. And the lots, even the waterfront lots, weren't that expensive yet in the mid-'80s. And but we ended up buying in Potrero. I'm happy I did.
Yeah, it's still a nice community.
Oh yeah.
When did you get your boat? You've got a 42-foot Morgan, is that right?
Morgan 42, right?
And you run sailing charters. The boat's called Surfari.
Correct.
And you've done tours on that thing for a long time. When did you get that boat?
2010 I bought the boat, and it had sat on the Hard over in Flamingo for 5 years with another fellow rebuilding it. And Mark Bjorken, who was a boater and a sailor and fairly famous guy around here, he was part owner, and the two guys couldn't get along on how they were going to rebuild the boat. So, I forget that guy's name. He bought him out anyway, and then they used construction grade plywood and all the things that Mark didn't want to do, and
instead of marine ply
or epoxy and wood. And so then this fella had sailed it for a bit doing charters, and then he had a heart attack, and the boat sat for over a year and accumulated fresh water, and then it came up for sale, and I was lucky to buy it. And I bought that boat without setting foot on it. I knew about it. I had already paid for the boat, and I hadn't even been on it yet. And I phoned my friend in Canada, and who's a good buddy and a sailor, and I said to him, hey, Bert, I just bought a boat. And he goes, hey, what's it like on the inside? And I said, well, you know what? I don't know. I haven't been on it yet. And he goes, what? You bought a boat and you haven't been on it? Anyway, it turns out that all that construction grade plywood had turned into black mush.
Sure.
So first thing I did was I built a cradle, and some track of steel, and we pulled it up beside Las Brisas, and we had it out of the water for 4 months. I had a woodworking shop.
So how did you get it out of the water? You built a cradle for it, and then sailed it onto the cradle, and then.
Correct. We built a cradle, and then the cradle had these 3x6 heavy steel tracks. I had 3 sets of them, so it sat on one, and at high tide we put it in the first set, and then we had a backhoe on the beach just to pull the whole contraption up onto the beach to get the weight of the boat onto the cradle. Then we waited for low tide, and then we leapfrogged the track all the way up the beach to where the dinghies are in Las Brisas right now.
Wow!
And this was the year of the earthquake in Japan, and that tsunami actually entered Potrero and made off with some of my scaffolding planks.
Oh, really? Jeez.
I didn't lose anything on the boat though, so there we spent over 4 months with the boat out of the water. And a crew of about 5 guys gutted the boat, rebuilt the engine, tried to put everything together at one time. Got the boat back in the water. The engine wasn't ready, but I made my first trip without an engine up to Ollie's Point. And that's always a good thing to do, sail a boat without an engine.
Absolutely, that's what it's there for. You're a surfer. You've been surfing for a long time.
Well,
when did you start surfing?
I started surfing at age 50.
Oh yeah, nice.
And that's a long time ago now.
You're 70 now. We just talked about
70 now,
that.
yeah.
So Ollie's is one of my favorite waves on the planet.
Gosh, well, it's changing now, right? Because the river mouth has moved.
But I've heard it's gone back.
No.
No?
I was just there.
Oh no.
No, not but gone back. It's I have been in the estuary a few times. You're not really allowed to do that, but I did that. And it's going to take...
Nobody's going to know.
Yeah, it's going to take sort of a major log jam or something to stop the water from going south to get the water to go back the other way again.
Ooh, gosh, that's what a shame. It was such a great wave.
I got a chainsaw.
Okay, well, I'm for it. Yeah.
It was a great... I guess it still works with big southern swell.
Yeah, I remember, I think about that wave as one of the easiest drop-ins of any place on the planet. It's like you start paddling, you're on top of the rock, and you get your momentum going. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna jump up, and then you get to your feet, and you're still just kind of going straight, and then you get fully set up and completely ready, and then it starts dropping out underneath you, and you go for ages. But it's just that crazy little escalator start, and then.
Well, a lot of people, I've taken a lot of people up there surfing, and I tell them, when you think you got the wave, keep paddling. And then what happens is you get it. It's like a 2-stage wave. It starts at the rock, and then when it hits the sandbar from the river, that's when it picks up speed and turns into a beautiful wave.
Yeah, I had an embarrassing moment there at Ollie's. I was just with Jeff and a couple other guys. We were the only ones there. And I'd taken a wave all the way into the sand, and I was collecting my board when I heard this sucking noise behind me. And I turn around, and this giant black fanged thing is right behind me. And I scream like a 10-year-old girl, and then I realized it was a tree rolling in the surf. And then I looked around to see if any of my buddies had seen, went back out, kept it to myself.
Well, it's out now.
It's out now. That's a great wave dump.
But I was out there one day with about 4 or 5 guys I didn't know, and a lot of times I wouldn't go all the way to the beach because of the long paddle back. And then one time I had this great ride, rode it all the way to the beach, and I'm telling you, from, I don't think it was 20 feet away, this head came out of the water about that long. Crocodile.
Ooh.
There's 20 footers up there. Back to the lineup, and I go, hey, there's a big crocodile on the shore up there. And the guy goes, oh yeah, we see it every time we go in.
Man, that's a big croc.
Big crocs up there.
That's just there's nothing up there. Nothing on the shore. It's real wild still.
Yeah. I work with these turtle biologists, and they got me a letter one time, because you're not really supposed to go to the beach there. You're not supposed to walk on the beach. Anyway, I got a letter that allowed me to do that, to count the turtles nesting there, and there's quite a few turtles nesting there. And I've seen the jaguar tracks many times in the morning when I do that walk, and have chased coyotes away from digging up turtle eggs, and have seen a jaguar on the beach there one time.
Really? Now, are those? I know up in the Santa Rosa National Park, all the way. Is that in the Santa Rosa Park?
Yeah, it's in Santa Rosa Park.
And
yeah.
that's where they got the big boys. That's where they have the 250-pound jaguars.
Oh yeah,
the
they're
giant
big.
ones.
Oh man, they got huge shoulders on them.
Yeah. Wow.
They dine on turtles. There's a biologist up there. I think his name is Luis Fonseca, and they study turtles. And there's this. Nat Geo was up there and made a movie. It's Playa Nancito. And it's called The Battle of Jaguar Beach. It's worth a watch.
Oh wow!
And they got jaguars eating turtles, and then when they're finished eating, they just lay back, and pumas come in and eat, which would never happen. And two jaguars sharing the same turtle, and the biologists say that just never happens. There's so much food up there.
Right.
And also, I don't know if I got the exact number right, but there's something like over 20 jaguars live on that peninsula. And that's a high concentration for jaguars, but it's because of all the food they got.
Wow. That's interesting. You know, I always, people ask me all the time about sharks in the area. And, you know, my standard line is I say that any shark that enters Costa Rica has to change its affiliation to be, you know, just to become a red snapper. And, you know, that's what I tell the kids. But the truth is, I don't really ever worry about sharks because there's so much food for them. You know, they're perfectly, unless you're getting between them and a meal, I don't think you're really going to have any problems.
I don't either. I think, from what I know, the bull sharks are a bit dangerous in murky water. And but you never at Panawates we see nurse sharks, absolutely harmless, and they're kind of cool for tourists to see. So they've seen a shark snorkeling. And every once in a while, we see the white tip reef sharks there too.
Yeah, Penahuastes is a great little island right off the bay here in Potrero. It's called Isla Bromel on the.
Isn't that funny?
Charts.
There's so many islands up north too that have one name by the locals and another name on the charts.
Yeah. So we all call it Penahuastes here, and it's
right.
It's a really interesting bay. It doesn't look like an interesting island from shore, but when you get out there, it has all of these rock spires, and it's kind of a horseshoe-shaped bay. It's got a tiny little beach on low tide and a spyglass looking through. It's an awesome little place.
Awesome place.
Yeah, we're lucky here. We have a lot of interesting beaches up and down the coast here.
We got one rock up there we call Crocodile Rock.
Oh yeah.
You know the one?
I don't think I do.
It's sort of got a mouth open that looks like a crocodile coming out of the water.
On the island?
On that ridge of rock that sort of...
On the South Ridge?
On the South Ridge,
yeah,
right.
I know where you're talking about. I didn't know it had a name. Yeah. Well, let's talk some more about your sailing. So you've had safari here, you ran trips out here, and then for a while you moved up with Moreja, your wife. You moved with the boat up to Dreams Mareas, which is what's the bay there?
El Hobo.
That's El Hobo.
El Hobo, right on. When we were moored in El Hobo, we could look about 4 kilometers to the north and see Nicaragua. Right on the border.
Wow, right on the border. I tell a story about you, and I think it's probably true, but I'll tell you the story how I tell it, and you tell me if it's true or not. I tried this with Craig Ledbetter. I told this great story, and then he said, "No, I never heard of that." Didn't make any sense to him at all. But I know that this is at least partially true because I saw the picture of your forearm with a giant hook in it, and that hook was buried all the way to the bend. And well, why don't you tell the story?
Well, that did happen. I still have the photo somewhere. Caught a nice big Sierra mackerel, and we got it on the back deck by the back lazarette.
It's a windy day.
It's always windy up there.
Yeah.
It's the windiest place in Costa Rica.
It's real, like more than, you know.
This is sort of getting
30,
off that, but we'll get back to the hook.
Yeah.
It blows 35 to 50. They're all windy sea, all dry season. And most sailboats don't want to go up there because of that.
Yeah.
Because rounding the bad islands and the peninsula is brutal.
Yeah.
I've done it many times, and it's brutal. I've had to turn back numerous times and wait. And so, yeah, this one day it's windy like it always is up there. Catch a nice Sierra mackerel. He's on the back deck flopping around with a Rapala with way too many hooks on it. And this hook ends up in my hand. And so the next thing to do is, you got this fish on the other end still, so that could hurt. And so we got the hook out of the fish. Now it's in my hand. So I undid the little circle thing there, and I just left the hook in for the rest of the day.
Not easy, one-handed.
Well, it was like an ornament for a while.
So the way I tell a story is way better, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it's based on truth.
The way I tell it is, the way that it was told to me from another party was that the guy kept pulling on the rod, and you're like, leave off, he's still kind of pulling on it, and the fish is going crazy. You're only one on the boat. You do an accidental jibe in the middle of it. You get the fish pinned down. You get the boat swung back around and back on course. Then you get the hook off of the fish, and then you get the hook off your arm, and then blood's everywhere from you and from the fish. Get the fish put away. Got this huge hook. I've got a picture still in my phone of the hook, deeply. It was a huge,
it's
huge
a big treble hook dug in my arm.
And but then finished off the tour. I don't know if you put a towel over it or whatever. You just served up the tacos. Then he finished the tour, went back, got everybody off the boat at the end of the night, and then you had to drive, hour and a half to the clinic.
To the clinic, and they froze it
on your motorcycle.
Yeah, and they froze it and cut it off. And
at 70.
Well, I was only 64. Yeah.
Only.
So what happened is, I got my boat going here, and I didn't want to do trips every day, and I was getting busier and busier. And Brad from Serendipity, he had a boat that somebody said that they owned, and he started doing charters with that boat, and he started a website, and he's got a degree in marketing, and he's really good at it, and built this website up, got the boat going, then found out that the bank was looking for it, so he lost his boat.
Oh, jeez.
So I said to him, hey, why don't we do the same kind of deal? I want 4 afternoons a week, and you can have the rest of the boat.
Nice.
So 2 years we did that. Second year, he said, I'm just paying you too much money. He says, I'm going to buy my own boat, which he bought a beautiful boat. He got lucky.
Sure
His
did.
dad helped. It's a great boat. And he's turned it into a great business. Well, when he did that, I went, ooh, boy, because I was sort of doing privates only, and I thought, man, and I'd heard about the Dreams Mareas, and I'd been wanting to live on my sailboat too.
Yeah.
I'd lived on a 30-footer before, and so now I got a 42-footer, way more room. And so went up to the Dreams, bought tiny sails, storm jib, storm main, and we did well up there. But Corona, what do you call it? COVID-19 sent us back here, and I'm glad it did, because I like this area better. I got a house here, and then I started my COVID project was a tilapia pond.
Yeah,
so
I wanted to get to that. So you live on a steep incline there.
I live on the base of the mountain, up towards what do you call that? Pacific Heights up there.
Yeah. So a lot of people started making sourdough. You decided to build a tilapia pond. Now, how many fish you got in that thing?
Well, I started out with 1,000 fish, supposedly. You buy them from the UCR, University of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And he said I would have to continually keep buying fish. But what I ended up doing is I hand dug this pond. My neighbors thought I was crazy. I hand dug this pond, and it's sort of on the side of a hill. So the material I dug out, I put on the other side for a dam. And it turns out, I don't know how big it is. It's about 6 meters by 4 meters, 1.5 meters deep. And then I built a river and a pumping system and a filtration system and the whole thing. And it seems to be working very well. Well, nowadays when we throw the net in, we get tilapia that size, we get them that size, we get them every size.
Really? So they're happy.
They're reproducing.
Yeah.
And since I broke my leg a while ago.
Oh yeah.
So it's really slowed me down. And I used to feed them a lot of food I bought. And so I started looking on the internet. I got a lot of algae in that pond, and actually tilapia can live off algae. And so
stop feeding them?
I fed them this morning again. I feed them every once in a while, but they seem to be thriving in there. And when I bought the original tilapia, there was some freshwater sardines mixed in there, and they seem to be reproducing in there too.
Wow, freshwater sardines. I don't even know what that is.
Looks like a saltwater sardine, but they thrive in fresh water.
Interesting. So you've You've built a lot of things. You've built houses. You were a construction guy. You also worked in the movie industry. Is that
Well, a little bit. I was a framing contractor at one time in Canada, and then moved to California, got a contractor's license, became a general contractor, and so I've kind of built a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You when we first started the sailing center, you helped us out so much. We built big moorings on your property. You taught us how to splice the big lines, and we had a backhoe bring them down to the beach, and then floated them across to our place. Helped us build the original platform. It's still floating out there. You know, I think we built that thing out of Laurel.
Laurel, right?
Not a real expensive wood.
Good wood, though.
It's been out there for 6 years now. We've replaced one plank on that thing. Yeah. So thanks.
Well, a lot of like Richard Chalami's fish boat is a cold molded boat built from basically Laurel too. It's a really good wood. Yeah.
No, wow. Yeah, Richard's an interesting guy. He's a
you better get him on here one day.
I think we should. And Mark Bjorkland also. That'd be great.
Right.
Yeah.
That's some salty people.
So you're living on the boat these days. Let me just. How do you feel about the jet skis in the neighborhood?
Well, if you're allowed to shoot them, I would.
Yeah. So that's not allowed.
That's not allowed.
Yeah, guns.
So you know, they come by and they wave to me, and then what I do, I give them the one finger salute.
Yeah. I heard that one of those guys took umbrage at that.
Oh yeah, right. That was quite a day, yes. You know, one of my friends came down here to visit, and he was checking out places around. He goes, "You know what I found out about you?" He says, "People either really love you or they really hate you."
Yeah, you're a controversial figure, but how could you not love?
He tried to punch me, that guy.
Yeah, right. And you tried to punch him back.
Well, I had a panga full of clients headed out to the boat. So I had to try to behave myself a little bit. But I gave the guy the finger, and then he came scooting by on his jet ski, and then he tried to punch me. And then I sort of went, "Ooh, wait, I got people here, I got to behave myself." Right. And then actually they had like teenage boys, and they kind of liked the whole thing anyway. So.
Oh, they did. I heard the story from them.
It was Oh, you heard it from them?
Yeah.
Were they entertained by it too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't wait. It's a fantastic trip on safari. Entertaining from the very start, they said. You pull your guitar out sometimes. You're an accomplished guitar player.
You and I and Mark Bjorken had a good night one night.
We did, yeah. And
he's a songwriter too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, he played us a song that night that he wrote in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, geez, that's right. You're like you play a lot of country music. You are.
I do like it. Yeah.
You are deep in that classic. What would you call the genre of country music that you like?
Classic. I don't know, Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard, Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
And Corona is really sort of, along with a few internet lessons from guitarmastery.com, I'm starting to learn all this triad stuff and sort of background picking and working on it. I'm trying to get together with Pedro one day to maybe get some professional help.
For sure. I think a lot of people
in the right direction.
A lot of people think that you need professional help, Jack.
Yeah, right.
But Pedro would be great. Pedro plays in every single band in the area.
No kidding. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. He plays with Leatherbacks. He plays with High Tide. He plays with Jaguarundi, doesn't he?
Jaguarundi, yeah. I like that band.
Oh yeah. They're here a couple times a week. We have live music here often. We have maybe 5 days a week here at the Sailing Center.
Well, I got a broken foot right now, so I'm a little bit, got sort of tied down a bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about healthcare in Costa Rica. You've had a couple of things. You got a broken leg, broken foot.
Broken foot, yeah.
Yeah. You had your dinghy roll over your foot in the surf.
Yeah, I had a salesman sell the trip right in front of the sailing center here, and I tried to get a hold of him all day saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to do this today because the surf's too big." Didn't answer the phone. 1 o'clock rolls around, I go to the girls, because I got 2 girls on the boat now, mariners. Guess we're going to go pick them up over there. So we picked them up, 8 people. It We got a little bit wet going out to the boat, but we made it. And then coming in, it's already dark, can't see the waves coming. Back of the dinghy's on the beach, and there's 8 people in it still. A big wave. If there was nobody in the boat, I think it would have rode up over the wave.
Right.
But with 8 people in it, it just flooded the dinghy. They all jumped out. And then, and I'm always telling people, don't get behind the dinghy, don't get behind the dinghy. And here I am behind the dinghy trying to pull it up on the beach. And I slipped underneath it, and it came down on my foot.
Ah, yeah.
And then couple of your guys came down and go, hey, don't try to bail it out on the beach because you'll never make it. It'll just keep filling up. Once you get some water out, push it out. And so we pushed it out, and then I had a bucket, and with a broken foot, well, I kept moving, so it didn't hurt that much. So I kept moving and got back to the sailboat, pulled the anchor, went over to tied up at Las Brisas. And then I finally sat down. Well, the next time I moved, I went, oh boy, something's not right here, because it started to hurt. And next morning went to the clinic and had
You go to the clinic? You go to Metropolitano?
No, I went to the Caja because I pay the Caja.
Yeah, you're a resident here.
I'm a resident, and the Caja's good. I mean, I had stomach cancer, and
not very long ago, a couple of years now.
5 years ago already now.
Really?
And the Caja, they were really good with that. Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're from Canada, so you know about sort of socialized medicine. How do you think the services compared?
Interesting question. I'd like to tell you the whole story. Can I do this? Tell you this whole story? Okay, well, it's called two-tiered medical here. There's private medical and there's government health care. And the government owns the insurance company here, INS, which does car insurance, house insurance. I've never had a problem with them. I think they're good. So you can buy a private policy. I don't. I just have the government, one that you need for the residents. And for example, I'm old, so I have a prostate issue. So I go to the prostate doctor, and private. It costs you $120, and they check you out.
I hope it's not a group prostate exam.
No, it's one at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So the last time I went, there was a new doctor, and he puts the glove on his finger, and he's going to do the exam, and he says, I'm going to have to warn you about this. He says, in some cases, this can cause an erection. And I go, oh, I don't have one. He goes, oh, yes, but I do. So that's the two-tiered health plan.
Okay. I got to say, I didn't see that one coming, Tommy.
No, that came out of the blue.
Anyway,
but
so I tell my people. So on my boat trip, people ask me that question, and then I always tie that into it to end it.
Fist fights and prostate exams. It's a hell of a ride. Well, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people have questions about how the medical system does work down here, and if it's as good as in the States or in other places. I haven't had a lot of experience personally with it, but I stopped paying medical insurance in the States because I knew anything that happens down here you can pretty much pay cash for it. And certainly over the 6, 7, 8 years I've been here, how many tens of thousands of dollars have I saved? I have had one medical procedure, and I went to Nicaragua to do it, and it was it was full anesthesia, full operating theater, all of the blood tests and everything, and I was out of there for less than $1,500.
Oh yeah.
So
see, the private healthcare is pricey here too, really.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, my buddy was. He had a heart valve put in Canada, and apparently it acquired some bacteria that took a few years to get build up a problem. And he went to SEMA, and he spent $17,000 at SEMA, and they couldn't figure it out.
Really?
So they hired a private plane and flew back to Canada, and at the hospital where he got the valve, they figured it out. So maybe that helped too. But in SEMA, they knew that he had the valve and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's finally recovered. But boy, there was a lot of time. I thought he wasn't going to make it.
Wow. But generally speaking, do you think of the healthcare and the dental care here in Costa Rica as being
I think it's very
acceptable?
good. Yeah, I think it's very good. I think the combination of the private and the government. The government hospitals are big, well staffed. I have great confidence in the government hospitals here.
Yeah, that's
Some
great.
people don't, but I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if I told you, I just got my residency.
Good for you.
Yesterday. After.
So you're on the government health care then pretty soon.
Right. Well, I'll get my DMEX on the 20th.
Oh, yeah.
So, then we'll launch on in.
You know, like they're great for emergencies.
Yeah.
And I think if you have like an issue, like my wife has a little cyst in her eye right now, she went to them. They even told her, by the time you get an appointment with a specialist, you know, your eye may have swollen over. Go to private.
Uh-huh.
You know, so you sort of got to know how to mix the private with the government here.
Mm-hmm.
I had an issue one time. I dropped a knife on my ankle.
Was this during a tour?
No, it was at home cooking. And it apparently punctured the membrane of the bone, and then it created a cyst. And I was a little concerned about it, so I went to the government hospital, and they looked at it and they said, oh yeah, well we better X-ray that and do blood samples or whatever. And then the guy go back to see the doctor that you went to see, and he goes, hey, he says, you should go see a bone guy, but if I recommend you one, it'll take a year. He says, go to Archangel and you can get an appointment just like that. So I went to Archangel for $40. I saw the bone specialist, took him the X-ray and the stuff I got from the government hospital, and they said, they explained what was going on, and within a few months the thing was already gone. So I think if you know how to do the medical thing here, when you go to the private, I just pay out of pocket, never that expensive.
Yeah.
Even with this broken foot. The other day I was very careful for the first 9 weeks, and I thought it was doing good. And then one day I did yard work and the thing ballooned up, and I went, oh boy. So I went to Metropolitano, decent prices, good service, and they X-rayed it again, and they said, ooh, you haven't made a whole lot of progress. But that's, so then my next appointment is with the government again.
All right. Hey, let's talk about a new big project here in the area. The marina has been being built here for a while. You're a mariner. What are your thoughts on how that's going to affect the area? The Bahia Potrero in general.
Well, already there's way more boats here than when I started my sailing tours. Many days I was the only boat anchored at Playa Amor. I mean, nowadays you go to Playa Amor, it looks like a catamaran parking lot.
Absolutely.
And so that there's going to be more and more of that. This last Christmas, I never seen as many big yachts around here. So I guess we're just going to have more and more of that. I hope it brings a lot of sailboats.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I think this is an awesome. I've lived in California. I've lived in Canada. This is the best place I've lived for sailing. Look at this. Look at this wind we got right now. It's always windy here.
Perfect. Yeah.
Almost always windy.
Yeah. Well, the papagayo season, the windy season, December, January, February, and this year all of March, can be a bit much. We do a lot of teaching with kids, and it's tough when it's blowing 30 knots to tell those kids to get on out there.
Well, get them small sails.
But the kids that make it through, boy, they get on a day like this and they're like, wow.
Yeah, they're boring.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but it's really nice.
I like the wind. People don't get on the boat and they go, isn't it too windy? I go, I prefer more wind than less wind, because I can always deal with smaller sails and more wind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, anything else you want to talk about today, Jack? This is your chance. We've covered a lot of things. How do you like? Let's talk about living aboard your boat. How is that? You've got kind of the best of both worlds, because you've got your house up on the hill. But how many days a week do you spend out on the boat?
I'd say in the last 2 years I have slept on land maybe 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's the other day I had these people that wanted to sleep on the boat, and the next morning we were off to Witches Rock and Ollie's Point. Okay, my wife and I slept at the house, and they slept on the boat, and in the morning we pulled anchor or dropped the mooring and went off to Witches Rock. But no, I love it on a boat. I lived on a sailboat in San Pedro, California, and I lived on a sailboat in Canada for a while. And when I got this boat, I was really wanting to live on a boat again, and that's why I did the Dreams thing. But here it's even better. Well, I learned this at the Dreams. You're finished with the guests at the end of the day, you drop them off on the beach, you go back to the sailboat, you're done. You're at home, you cook dinner on the boat, And the next time you get off the boat is first thing in the morning to get the goods for the next trip.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
a nice life.
It's good life.
I sleep really well on a boat at anchor.
So do I.
Yeah. I feel like my brain is floating in the fluid a little bit, and I always have real full color dreams when I'm sleeping aboard. Does that happen to you?
Well, this prostate issue again. It seems like every time I wake up into the middle of the night and I got to pee, it's with a dream of some kind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, we won't go into the dreams.
okay. Let's not. All right. Well,
But the other thing about the boat too that I see, we are actually sleeping just at sea level.
oh really?
Yeah, our bunk is like right at sea level.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
probably kind of some good therapy.
I'll bet it is. It balance between two worlds.
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to say thanks for coming in.
Okay.
Thanks for talking
Thanks
to
for
us.
having me.
Yeah. Really good. I think that if the people that are on the nay side see this interview, they'll know the real
yeah.
you now,
Yeah,
and
they don't know,
they'll
they
come
don't
around.
they don't really know.
unless they have a jet ski company,
Right.
and then there's no coming around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on,
Okay.
Jack.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Tommy. And thanks, Louis, for helping us set up today. And we will see you next time.